little birdie told me that Ren Faire season is soon upon us. Well, at least in some regions. In my area, our Renaissance festivals don't start until we are deep in the sweltering armpit of August, but I still wanted to get a jump on making some more fantasy-inspired whimsical pieces that I can mix and match when the occasion calls for it. Might not be a Renaissance festival, might just be a tea party at my house. First up on the chopping block is this orange linen dress I thrifted a few years back. I like the color and the lace-up detail, but something about it has always felt off and it's awkward to style. The color has always reminded me of these linen nave dresses, and I thought it would be cool to add more lace-up details, but I also thought it might look better without the sleeves as a type of tunic, drawing inspiration from these pieces. Basically, I kind of wanted to make a Frankenstein's monster love child between the two. This is already better, and literally all I did was chop off the arms, so we're off to a good start. Once the sleeves were removed, I separated all the individual pieces and cut the largest piece into strips 1 inch wide on an angle. I connected all the strips together and used it to make bias tape to finish the armholes. Thanks to everyone who suggested making bias tape with leftover fabric, it definitely turned out better than using pre-made bias tape. Not perfect, I still need to work on curving it more, but it puckered far less than before. Next, I created 2 darts running down each side of the dress, beginning right below the armhole and ending right at the top of the pocket. These will be pulled in toward each other for our lace-up detail. To make the lace-up ties, I again cut the largest piece of cut-off sleeve fabric into 1 inch strips on a diagonal and connected them, but this time I folded it in half right sides together. I did the same to the remaining bias tape, leaving me with 2 very skinny long noodles that needed to be turned right sides out. Was there an easier way that I could have done this? Oh, most definitely, but that's not what I did. This is what I did. And ultimately it worked, so here we are. Once my noodles were right sides out, I trimmed them to the same length. I used the cuffs to make my loops, figuring the interfacing that was already attached to the fabric would add stability. I again folded these strips in half right sides together, then turned them right sides out and cut each into 6 smaller pieces. I folded each little piece in half and attached 3 along each dart on the inside edge. Then all that was left to do was lace it up. Y'all, I am so happy with how this turned out. I was really nervous about cutting off the sleeves at first. I don't know, I get nervous sometimes like that with thrift flips. I'm like, oh gosh, this is the point of no return. If I cut these sleeves off, they're not going back on. But I'm really glad I just went for it because the sleeve length before, I don't know, it just felt weird. This just feels like how the dress was meant to be. It feels better as a sleeveless tunic. And then the lace up on the side is just such a fun detail. I like that the dress is now size adjustable so that it can accommodate any weight gain or weight loss. It can accommodate layering. I am just very pleased with this change. And then I would like to also add embroidery. I just don't really have the time right now, and I'm not totally sure what I would want to do. I'm not sure if I just want to add a trim or do it by hand, but I think a trim along the bottom would be really cool to hide the fold where I previously let the hem out, because it used to be like 2 inches shorter. And then I would also like to add either trim or embroidery here around the neckline coming down next to the grommets. I'm not sure if I want to do blue to contrast with the orange or like a deep olive green. I'm leaning more toward green. Point being, I am so happy with this. I quite like how this turned out. Yay. Next, I wanted to make a whimsical fairy handkerchief skirt, which was the perfect opportunity to do some stash busting with these floaty floral curtains I thrifted a little while ago and this lovely sage green lace fabric that was from the bargain bin at Walmart. It's kind of looking gray on camera, but I promise the colors are a bit more saturated in person. I folded each curtain panel into quarters, cutting off the excess fabric at the ends so that each piece would be a square, and I also cut out the hole for my waist from the center. This video is brought to you by squares! Yeah, literally this skirt is just 2 squares, overlapped at a diagonal. It's so easy. I basted the 2 squares together at the waist, then serged the raw edges of the hem before moving on to my lace fabric. You don't have to serge the raw edges, that's just a personal preference, a thing I like to do. I waffled quite a bit on how to go about adding this green fabric, even considering adding a 3rd layer to the skirt, but after a lot of deliberation, decided on cutting it into strips to use as trim along the hem. I left the edges of the lace trim unfinished, which I think gives it a little bit more charm and character. So I took all the little scrap ends of the ribbon that I cut and connected them together, hoping that I can get 2 more sides of the skirt done with these scraps. That way I don't have to keep cutting into the big block of fabric. The waistband was also something I went back and forth on, initially hoping to fold over the waistline and make an elastic casing, but when that didn't work out, I switched to making a visible elastic waistband. I only had 2 smaller pieces of waistband elastic on hand, so I connected those 2 together, then marked both the elastic and the waistline in quarters, pinning them together at those marks. I sewed the skirt to the elastic with wrong sides together, pulling the elastic as I sewed to match the length of the waistline, then flipped the elastic right side out and sewed it down again. So I was thinking this skirt would really just end up being a costume piece, but I kind of want to wear it for real. I really like this. Who knew that 2 squares could be so pretty? I'm really glad I went with just a little bit of trim with the lace. I really went back and forth as far as what to do with that. I think having like a full layer of the lace might have been just a lot going on, but I really like the subtle detail of the lace trim. And then as far as the waistband goes, this elastic did stretch a bit while I sewed it, and it's fitting looser than I really wanted it to. It fit perfectly snug when I measured the piece around my waist, so it probably just stretched as I sewed it and didn't quite regain its shape yet, so it's fine, it still fits. But this is also elastic that I salvaged from an old bed sheet and probably is not in the best shape, so I could see myself needing to replace that down the line. But again, this is ultimately meant to be more of a costume piece, so I don't think that'll really be an issue, but I am very excited to use this. I might use this for my tea party that I'm having next week. Maybe I'll just show up to church one day wearing this and be like, hey guys, weirder things have happened. I really like it. I really like it. I feel like just so floaty and happy. Thank you guys for watching my little thrift flips this week. Leave a moon emoji down in the comments if you're still here, and thank you for hanging out with me this week. Subscribe if you'd like to hang out again, especially if you want to get up to some crafty springtime shenanigans with me next time. Okay, bye. Ooh, the spring allergies are kicking in. Now we got double handkerchief going on, and I kind of like it.